Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. It's your time of the week for the show that I enjoy doing it the most. It's Devil's Advocate, episode 23. We got Johnny, we got Dave. Dave's straight off the plane. I think he's just got back, or he's got back late last night to Dublin. So he's tired. I'm still not feeling 100%, but we're going to get through it, find out how everybody is. Make sure you hit the like button for me on the video by taking your shoes off. If you enjoy this content, make sure you smash the like button up. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Get over to Dave's channel. Get over to Johnny on Twitter. Both of the links are in the description. I'll be putting them up throughout the show. Hit the notification bell. Make sure the comments are thick and fast. Keep it friendly in the chat. And we shall get going. Quick reminder that if you do want to watch this later or in future in different times on Spotify, it will be on Spotify after the show. So get over there and follow the podcast over there. And obviously, try and check out all the other socials as well. All the links are downstairs. Dave, welcome back home. Welcome home back to Ireland, mate. How you feeling? How you feeling generally after the game?
Yeah, look, it's good to get back to Ireland. You know, London's a bit crazy for me. But yeah, look, I'm annoyed after the game, to be brutally honest. Very annoyed. We'll get into it. But good.
How about you, Johnny?
Well, listen, I wish I was Stevie Wonder. And I've been led up to my seat, and I just had to listen to the silence for the first sort of 60 minutes. Right, honestly, it was awful. I'll just take off my Stevie Wonder sunglasses now. Yeah, it was painful. You know, it was hiding the tears for that half. I've got to be honest with you. We'll get into it, but I've never been so conflicted about a football match ever. I don't remember a game which left me so baffled as to how we arrived at that scenario. You know, there were so many things, which is good for streams, but not good for the old ticker.
Yeah, a lot to talk about what happened. And by the way, yeah, apologies for the microphone. I hope this one sounds better. Apologies for not getting better content out on the stream straight after the game. But listen, it is what it is. Guys, we've got so much to talk about. We've got to talk about the North London derby. We have to talk about the takeaways from it. We've also got to find some time to talk about Chelsea, which is just around the corner. I also want to ask you some weird questions around, you know, what happens if we beat Chelsea and, you know, Aston Villa were to lose to Brighton on the weekend, then suddenly top four, you know, would hinge on maybe a Manchester City result. How do you feel around, you know, do you really want to fight for fourth if it means Arsenal get the title, all that stuff? We're going to come to that stuff at the end. Get the polls ready, or get yourselves ready in the chat to answer the polls when I put them up. Let's start with in fact, before I get into that, let me just quickly say hello to the members. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat, but we've got so short on time, so much to talk about. I'm going to stick to the members. Daniel Bourne, big up, mate. How you doing? Great to see you. Tony Rodriguez, good afternoon, mate. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're okay. Benny, Boy, Kaufman, afternoon, everyone. Jeff Denack out. Jeff Denack? I think it's Jednack, isn't it?
Jeff Denack. Yeah, Jeff Denack out. Yeah. He's not
Tom, 81's in the house as well, saying afternoon. Sorry, Johnny, what was that, mate?
I said, Denack, I didn't even know he was there. I mean, you know, we'll talk about that in a minute.
100%. As everyone's walking in, make sure you please hit the like button, guys. Let's get straight into it. Dave, I'm going to start with you on this one, mate. Overall thoughts about the North London derby. Did we deserve more from the game? Were we outplayed? Were we unlucky with VAR? Was it a robbery? Was it snobbery from Ange? Go where you want with it, mate. Any opinions valid, I think, on this particular game?
Look, first of all, I think Ange got it wrong with the starting lineup, completely wrong. I've said about Pape Matar Sarr and how crucial he is to this team. It's now 13 games that he hasn't started or has been missed, and we've dropped points in 9 of them. That's how important this guy is to that midfield. He's the guy that, you know, turns over ball. And when he came on in the second half, for me, he's like one of the only players out there that actually understood what a North London derby meant, going around trying to win the ball back and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think Ange Postecoglou got the lineup completely wrong. Picking Ben Davies, look, we all knew what was going to happen. You know, Saka was going to get at him. Davies is going to jockey off him a lot of times and stuff like that. Should have put Emerson in there to get touch tight with Saka. Davies caught out of position for that second goal as well. And then set pieces. I mean, I'm getting sick of it. It's week in, week out now at this point. You know, Vicario still being on the line by Ben White. You know, no one around. Like, we just don't learn lessons. You know, we just don't have brains at times. You know, in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the moment, it's like they forget everything that they've been told or that they've been working on and stuff like that. You know, why is Vicario still being left on his own? Why are we still zone and marking when we cannot defend set pieces? It's absolutely joke. And I'll be brutally honest, to be 3-0 down inside 30 odd minutes in a North London derby at home is absolutely disgusting, and it's disgraceful. That should never, ever, ever happen. I don't care, you know, it should just not happen. And especially since I'm sitting beside them Arsenal fans all game as well, you know, and they're giving it to us. It was absolutely disgusting. No heart, no passion, no fight. Some of them goals are easily avoidable. But weirdly enough, we were the better team. We had a lot more possession. You know, we handled the game, like we done a lot more on the ball than what I thought we would. But the biggest problem for me, and I keep going back to it, is the forward line. You know, anytime we got the ball up into the final third, no one wanted to shoot, no one wanted to cross the ball, everyone wanted to go backwards and stuff like that. It's nowhere near good enough. They need to be a lot braver on the ball. If you're not going to be brave in the North London derby, when are you going to be brave? So, you know, there's a number of things that went wrong from a Tottenham point of view. I think Arsenal, I mean, they had their game plan set, didn't they? Sit back, don't allow Tottenham any room, don't allow them in behind you, and then, you know, go and take advantage of set pieces because they're so weak. Coming into this game, we knew Arsenal was one of the best teams in the Premier League from set pieces, one of the most profitable, and we still allowed them to get 2 goals. And that's ultimately what took the game away from us, was the 2 set-piece goals. And look, I'm not going to make any excuses for any of the Tottenham players because they don't deserve it. But that Michael Oliver may as well just wear an opposition kit when he's refereeing against us. He gave them every 50-50 decision. They didn't even want to look at penalty, you know, some of the tackles on some of our players for penalties. The one for Ben Davies, the penalty that he gave for Sonny in the second half. He's standing there looking at it. He's
4 feet away.
Standing there.
4 feet away, and he says no, waves it away.
But you know what? This is the same guy that sent off Romero against Chelsea when he kicked the ball first, and have let other players away since with the same sort of challenges. So I'm not surprised. So I think Pogmal or whatever they are need to look at refereeing and officiating in Tottenham's game. But again, this is where I think Arsenal was smart. You know, when Arteta done it, everyone came out, oh, you know, look at Arteta, that's disgraceful, this, that, and the other. But what it done when he came out about the referees, it makes them think twice when they give them decisions. It makes VAR check absolutely everything that happens in their matches. And I said this a long time ago on this, Sean. Spurs and Ange Postecoglou need to grow a set of balls now and start coming out and calling out these authorities and stuff like that, because staying silent is not doing anything. You know, usually staying silent.
You're condoning the behaviour.
Yeah, you're doing the correct behaviour. You're hoping that you get sort of rewarded in a way. But it ain't happening. We need to shine a focus on officiating in Tottenham games.
Yeah, so much to break down there. You spoke about the heart and desire. You spoke about the penalties, the VAR. You spoke about the forward line. We're going to go through each department of it in general, in isolation throughout the show. Johnny, your overall kind of summary, just kind of
I was going to say
10,000 foot view.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, we can't skirt around these issues. You know, we have to dive deep into so many things that that are wrong. Yeah, I, as I said before, I've never been so conflicted watching a game of football. We controlled the game. We had the better chances in that first half. They had an XG of 0.7, and yet they managed to be 3-0 up. And in the second half, which seemed crazy, if you didn't know the score, you saw 3-0 at half-time, 2-0 second half. Oh, it was a game of 2 halves. But really, it wasn't a game of 2 halves. We won the first half and lost 3-0. And I thought they controlled the second half much better than us. Yet we won it 2-0. Because let's be honest, up until Romero's goal, most people were twitching to leave. I could see a lot of them like had enough. They'd given up. There was only one man on that pitch who wanted it more than anyone, and he got rewarded with a fantastically calm finish. But we didn't look like scoring again after that. We didn't pepper their goal. Raya never made a save after that. Do you know what I mean? So there were so many things wrong, yet there were many things that were positive. No one has kept Arsenal to such a low XG in the entire season. You know, we scored 4 goals against Arsenal this season. No team has scored 4 goals against that defence. Yet
7 hours of football before that game, they hadn't conceded.
Yeah,
and
we scored 2. There
scored 2, but we
pluses.
should have scored 4 or 5. You know,
there were pluses, but I'm sorry, I'm really struggling here. Right? Okay, you know, people say, "Oh, Johnny, knee-jerk reaction." This isn't a knee-jerk reaction. I've said the same stuff from the start to now. I've not flip-flopped. Forget your flip-flop comments, guys. Right? I don't flip-flop unless there's good reason. I've said the same thing from the start, and I'm not for changing. I saw the Arsenal set-piece coach literally on the pitch screaming at them for every single set-piece, right? Literally. Where's Jedinak? Sat in the frigging stands. Sat in the stands. What you did? Oh, there's no room on the bench, apparently. There's no room for our set-piece coach because, let's be honest, right? We don't want anyone. We don't want Ange. We don't want anyone interfering with the gameplay, right? We don't want them guiding them to where it's going wrong. At 2-0 down, if I'm sat on the sideline on a Sunday watching my kids playing, we're 2-0 down, having watched that, I'm calling them over to the side of the pitch. You know, I'm watching Arteta, and he's calling them over at 2-0, at 3-0, remonstrating with them. You know, I need that interaction. I don't want my manager sat on the side with no interaction when it's going wrong. I'm not asking for Arteta, but I'm asking for something when it's not going right. You want to send a bunch of 21-year-olds out and with instructions, expect them to follow it to the letter of the law? No. Klopp, Pep.
But his instructions are, as far as I understand it, figure it out on the pitch. You know, you keep to the same philosophy, but ultimately you're allowed to have the freedom to move into a variety of shapes and positions as long as you are always looking to progress the ball forward and you essentially keep that kind of mindset. But how that looks and feels is up to the players, which is a lot of responsibility.
I'm sorry. Look, we all know, right, as old as time memorial, right, defending wins titles and wins trophies, right? It's a fact, right? Okay. You look at Everton, okay? They've conceded the least amount of, second least amount of goals from set pieces, and I think they scored the second amount, and yet they're sat in 16th place. Could you imagine if their set pieces were not of the level that they are, where they would be? And yet here we are, sat in 5th place, and we pay no attention to it because it's not of importance to him. And
it's not just corner kicks, Johnny, right? I don't know if you saw this.
It's everything. If you could see the Arsenal set piece coach, right? I don't know if you can see it in these, but in the Arsenal set piece coach, I mean, he's screaming at them, setting them up. Even telling Raya what to do. Even for the penalty, he called Raya over to tell him, you know, what he should be doing.
To me, this is, I mean, I've got like 8 different examples. And I don't want to go through them all, but just this is one from a free kick, right? Declan Rice lines it up to bang it in. We've got, what's that? An 8-man line, 8-man kind of offensive wall. 4 Arsenal players standing offside. 2 of them at the back post here. Oh, sorry. I think that's Sarr. I think that is. He's marking it. Is 29 Sarr? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got Zinchenko, I think that is, down here on the left hand off the post. As this is taken, obviously I can't show you the clip, but one of the Arsenal players blocks our furthest man back. That's so by design. It's unbelievable. You've got the ball is going over the top, and every single Tottenham player is running back, but you've got 3 men now that are unmarked at the back post, or one of them's blocking Sarr. He comes over the top. You see Sarr's been, or whoever that guy is, has taken Sarr out. Sarr's now completely out of the game. 2 men at the back post for a free header. It comes to Tomiyasu, who's got a free header. And if Tomiyasu misses it, if the ball's overhit, it falls to Zinchenko. Absolutely shambolic positional play, and that's not from a corner kick. Obviously, the weight of evidence about how bad the set pieces are starts with the corners, but even from deep lying free kicks, you can't have that situation where Tomiyasu's 4 or 5 feet away from the next Tottenham man, and if it was overhit, you've got a guy with a free shot at the back post. And luckily for us, it's 3-0 at this point, but luckily for us, this one just goes over the top, and Vicario doesn't need to be called into action. But I mean, just to give you a couple of other exampli, right? This is where Johnny, you've been saying this.
Stop that there. Right? Yeah, can I just stop you there, right? Look, so you know, I am mystified I'm totally mystified, right? This setup here, even looking at this one, right, and this is better than some of them, right? You know, for me, I haven't got a pointer here, right? But for me, first of all, right, I've got a guy on the halfway line. So if you take one of those players out and you put them on the halfway line, two of these guys on the outside of the box, or two of the guys that are in the box now, are now null and void. They are now covering that. Second of all, I have a guy between the edge of the penalty box and the halfway line, right? Halfway between them. That takes out another. I then have one or two on the outside of the box, okay, just in case they do a different type of corner, or you want to get the breakaway. And I always have one or two on the on each of the posts. In this setup, even if you do win the ball, there's a risk that it's coming out to one of these guys and it's coming straight back in, or to the edge of the box, and they're going to rifle a shot into the top corner. I've never seen such an amateur setup. And, look.
It's this one here, though, mate, as well, right? So that particular screenshot, that screenshot previously just shows that 21 players are in the box. The furthest player back is Declan Rice, who's on the edge of the D, or on the D, which is madness. Yeah. This one here, right, it shows that Tottenham is sitting there, man marking, zonal positions, marking nobody. Porro down the bottom here. Hojbjerg, I think that is, marking nobody. Kulusevski, Sonny, he's the guy that should be on the halfway line. Even Van De Ven, marking nobody. Brennan Johnson's the only guy who's not known for his aerial strengths, is marking anybody, and he's marking Thomas Partey. And Richalison, maybe that's a good one, marking Gabriel. But to me, and then obviously this particular example, he ends up getting headed in.
Just go back there. Sean, can you just go back there a second? Just go back to the previous one. Sorry. Right. So in a situation like this, when you're playing zonal defence, okay, Tottenham don't know who they're going to pick up. And Arsenal know that, right? Because they're playing zonal. Okay. So what you do, you position yourself all at the back of post. None of these guys know, right? If you're playing man marking in the box, everyone has a responsibility. Yeah. You are marking X, you are marking Y, right? So someone is responsible. When you've got a situation like that, when you're looking at that, when they're all set over the other side of the thing, on the other side of the post, I saw there was one clip where you had 7 players on one side of the box.
Look at that.
Yeah. Look at that. So there's a prime example. Okay.
Corner kick's just about to come in.
Yeah.
Vicario, Hojbjerg, Romero, Sarr, Son, Kulusevski, they are all looking at the back post because they all know what's about to happen, but they can't do anything about it because
they're playing zonal.
Now, correct. I'm not advocating that all of them go and stand man for man at the back post, because then you just have a massive convergence towards the front post anyway. It'll be a nightmare. But there has to be something different to what we're doing when every one of these Arsenal players are about to converge onto Vicario. The ball's going to get put right into that danger zone, and Vicario becomes completely irrelevant. He's terrified of the pressure. He can't handle it. One of the solutions is to take 2 players out of the box and put that threat. Attack is the best form of defense, or the threat of attack is the best form of limiting the risk that Arsenal pose us here. But ask any manager now who knows Tottenham are going to zonal mark, which is an outdated kind of concept anyway, are just going to do this. Stick 7 players blindsiding, making the Tottenham players all be looking left and right, looking at the corner kick taker, and then looking behind them to see when the movement's coming that they know is going to happen. It's a madness.
Sean and Dave, right, look, this is 21st century football, okay? This is football. Set pieces is a fundamental part of the modern game, right? It is so important, both defending and offensively. And I've mentioned this so many times till I'm blue in the face. This is like NFL football. This is like NFL play, where you work on your plays, right? You work on a system. You look at how the other team set up. I know we don't do that because we're so arrogant. We don't need to look at other teams. But, you look at the other team. You look at their strengths and their weaknesses in set pieces. Ours are pretty obvious. But they have various different plays. They also have another play there where there's 3 or 4 at the back, 3 at the back post where they rush in, but 2 rush in from outside the box to confuse them, right? So they don't know which way to go. And one of them is always free. We don't do any of that. And to put that aside, I don't know if you've got the comments from Ange. Have you got Ange's comments?
Yeah.
If you bring them up, because they really need to be discussed. Because
Just
go on, Dave. Sorry, mate.
just on the corners. The reason, look, for me, when we're playing zonal marking and we're still conceding a lot from corners, it shows to me there's no one talking to each other. With zonal marking, you have to have loud people in the box that are passing people on. When someone's running off them onto someone else, they need to be screaming, that he's coming onto you. And that's definitely not happening. That's why a lot of these players are getting free and going for challenges, headers unchallenged, because no one's passing them on. No one's communicating. We need to revert back to a man marking system, because at least then in the dressing room and during the week, you can pinpoint exactly who the problem is, because it's their man that they're responsible for, that they let free to go and win that header. And that's something that does need to change over the course of the summer. I'd argue before the end of the season, but I don't think it will. But it's something that we need to look at in the summer, maybe bringing in a set piece specialist, because you look at the likes of Arsenal, they've profited massively from it. You look at a lot of the clubs.
We profited from it last year. Under Conte, we had how many? Most of our goals come from offensive set pieces.
23%. 23% of our goals came from set pieces.
You look at the way modern day football is going. Liverpool had to throw in set piece specialists. City do stuff on set pieces and stuff like that as well. Every team that's looking to gain that extra inch, to gain that extra edge, to try and go and win something, they all bring in specialists and realize the importance of it. You look at Brentford players, for instance; they're all on bonuses for defensive and attacking set pieces to try and highlight how important they are, especially in terms of defending, but also going and nicking goals. So for me, it's something that we seriously need to address. But it does, for me, the zonal marking exposes a lack of leadership and a lack of vocals in and around that box, because they're just letting guys run without maybe, screaming, passing the guy on to the next guy, letting them know that he's coming on. In zonal marking, communication has to be key to get it right. And it's
Can I just say, Dave, to add to what you're saying there, if you listen to Thomas Frank puts down staying into the Premier League in the initial stages of coming up to the set pieces. He said the set pieces is the be all and end all, defending them and scoring goals, right? Their set piece coach was so good when they came up. He ended up going to City, and then we all know he ended up being poached by City from Arteta and coming to Arsenal. And he's made a huge difference since he's come. And then they brought in another set piece coach, which was doing the business. And now he's been poached and he's going to Chelsea next season to work with them. It is megally important. And for him to say it's not, just to add to this, right, and thinking as a manager, with my head on, right, I'm not qualified, but this is in my head. First of all, last season, our best defender of set pieces was Harry Kane. We don't have Harry Kane, right? So for me, I personally... And
Emerson Royal was also phenomenal in defensive headers.
Correct.
Richalison was good at it as well.
Yeah,
he was on the bench.
What I would have been doing, right? I know Richalison only had 60 minutes in him, but I would have started with Richalison, right? Because, I know... First, forget leading the line at the front. Forget all that. We're just talking about defending now. He would have been winning those headers. Second of all, I wouldn't have been starting with Hojbjerg, and this would have been the one game that I would have played Romero as the 6 and brought in Dragusin, because Dragusin is phenomenal in the air, right? He's superb in the air. And I would have played Emerson instead of... This isn't hindsight stuff, Sean, right? What I'm looking at is their strength. I joked before the game.
I didn't think Hojbjerg was bad, man. I know he put the ball in his own net, but I thought Hojbjerg had a good first half.
Look, I'm not saying that. What I'm talking about here is I said we could be 3-0 down just from corners, right?
Oh, yeah,
just
okay.
from set pieces, right? That was my joke, right? But it really could have been. And what I'm saying to you here is, as a coach, as a manager, with my head on, right, I'm thinking, how can I still be effective as an offensive force, but at the same time negate their biggest strength? And for me, I play Dragusin, right? I bring Romero in as the 6. I put Emerson as Emerson at left back, and for me, and Richalison instead of Timo, I play him in the middle, play Son on the left, and there I've got then my defensive setup designed. Even if I'm playing zonal, I've got guys better equipped.
Yeah, because Micky Van De Ven is the tallest players in our pitch. Vicario,
weakest part of his game.
Vicario's awful from corners and crosses and set, but he's 6'4" tall. And Micky Van De Ven is also poor in the air. He doesn't like. He's not a fan of heading. So
well, it's that face, isn't it? He doesn't want to damage
yeah, understandable. Look, to be honest though, right? I think with the set pieces thing, I think we can all agree and acknowledge that it's a massive problem and that it needs to be worked on. Obviously, Ange doesn't see it as a bigger deal as the fans do. He's more important, more focusing on bigger picture stuff. Which, look, to be honest, I feel like to a degree, in order for the weight, I said this in the video I did yesterday, guys, that I'm 100% behind that. I think that the difference in play, ball in play stuff, I think we're not that far away with a few changes to key positions. You get a better six. You get a wing.
We need a Rodri.
Yeah, someone like, I would say that they don't grow on trees, but someone and Edison, I think, is probably the best of what's possibly available from Atalanta. I think he would fit, but you need a wing forward and you need a striker who's going to be more clinical. And if you do that, I do think that Tottenham's in play stuff is good enough, and I'm happy to kind of participate in that model, even though it's going to have vulnerabilities. But the set pieces have to change, and if he doesn't seem to want to acknowledge it as a problem, then I kind of hope that if we're going to concede more goals between now and the end of the season, I'd almost hope that every goal we concede comes from a set piece, so that the weight of opinion and the weight of the body of evidence is too overwhelming and too overpowerful to ignore. That if you don't fix this, then we're never going to win enough games. And if you do fix it, oh no, Wayne's net gone.
Sure, all we know is had we addressed it like I mentioned before, we are winning that game yesterday. No two questions about it. They had the least amount of possession. Only Manchester City in the whole of this season have given Arsenal less possession. They like to control the game. They only had 38% possession in the entire game, right? That's a fact. Those are the numbers, right? So, I don't know. Really, it's...
Let's move away from the set pieces, guys. I want to come back to Dave's initial take. Dave, when I asked you for your summary, one of the things you said was you didn't think there was any fight, any heart, any passion. Can you kind of like expand on that? Because for me, I thought that if you were looking for the box ticking exercise of did we want it more or did we show enough desire? I thought in the first half we did. I thought we went into every 50-50 duel with more aggression. I thought we were controlled with it, though. I thought we won more duels than we lost in a midfield battle that was stacked against us in terms of quality. I thought the boys turned up. I thought there was enough fight. And I think also going 3-0 down, one of the major takeaways from the game is that our heads didn't drop and we still carried on fighting throughout the 90 minutes to the point where we got ourselves back in it. All right, it took a mistake from Raya for the catalyst for that. But at 3-0 down, you could easily envision teams just going, oh, no. And the whole thing just falling apart. But it didn't. So, why do you feel like we didn't show enough heart and passion in the game?
You just don't go 3-0 down inside 36 or 38 minutes in the North London derby at home. You just don't. Look, don't get me wrong. I know what you're saying in terms of possession and stuff like that. But in possession, we weren't brave enough when we got into the final third. We just weren't. It's that simple. Everyone was scared. Yeah. Everyone was afraid. In the North London derby, all you got to do is go at the team and try and create goals, try and tread through balls. The fans would be standing there singing and stuff like that, So I don't think they're brave enough in possession. But out of possession as well, corner kicks. It's a North London derby. How are you letting some players go up unchallenged? You just can't do that. That should be illegal in a North London derby. It should not happen. When you go 2-0 down in quick succession, I want to see some more fight. I want to see a little bit more organisation and stuff like that. Again, when you're going forward, I want to see us try and claw that back. It just wasn't there. It wasn't there for the first half. Look, I'll be brutally honest. That half time I was sitting there, I was like, we could either get routed here or the team will turn up, come back, make it 3-1, score, make it 3-2, and, it'll sort of save a little bit of face. But being brutally honest, it's easy to show a bit of courage and a bit of bravery when you're 3-0 down. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. You've got everything to gain from it. And for me, it's a huge problem. You just don't go 3-0 down inside 36, 38 minutes in North London derby at home. It shows a lack of fight and stuff like that completely. It's nowhere near good enough. The set pieces are completely avoidable. That Saka goal, completely avoidable. Players out of positions and stuff like that, Are we smart enough to pull people down on the counter-attack like Arsenal done to us loads of times, by the way, with Richalison and people like that when we were trying to get up the field? Pull them down, get yourself reset. Why couldn't we do that on Saka's goal? Why couldn't someone go and get tight, take him out, and allow us to get back and get reset? And that little things like that is what I mean, a lack of fight. Vicario standing on the line, allowing Ben White to get close to him again and stuff like that. Not learning lessons. I'm sorry, North London derby, sort of use your arm to push him off, give yourself a yard or two, come out and go and help that back line. He doesn't. And it's
so when you mean fight, you mean kind of like in the literal sense of the word, in terms of like standing up for yourself rather than like, because I still disagree that I think the Tottenham players came, obviously that you go 3-0 down, but we were sucker punched 3 times, four opportunities, 3 conversions. I'd also advocate that, that it shouldn't have been that way, because for me, Kulusevski's trip is a foul anywhere else.
He's too honest, though. He's too honest. He should have went straight down. He should have gone straight down.
He should have gone straight down. But
that's Ange.
3 more steps.
But that's Ange. I'm sorry, guys. Right? That's Ange. If that was Conte, right? Kulu comes in the dressing room and Conte and Mourinho are giving him hell, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't you go down? Right? We are too nice. I'm sorry. 2 minutes in. 2 minutes in, Dave, right? Madison's down on the right-hand side by the south stand, right? On the right-hand side.
Don't even get me started on here.
Gabriel, bang, puts him into the stands. He gets up. There's nothing. There's no fire. There was nothing. Listen, I'll tell you something, right?
We didn't even appeal for that one, did we? We were too devastated that we hit the post.
Nothing.
The fans didn't appeal for it. The players didn't appeal for it. And that should have been a penalty.
But I'll tell you where
I saw Romero, right, a man possessed, right?
Yeah.
A man, he was the only person that kept me like fighting and believing, because he was the only one. And then we get the substitutions. We got rid of Madison, who should not even been on that pitch to start. Don't even get me started, right? And you see the subs come on, Richalison, right? And Gary Neville, I watched the game back, right? Gary Neville, he's headbutted him. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, he hasn't. Oh, no, he hasn't. Sorry. Right. There's a campaign against Tottenham, against Richalison, against Romero every time he makes a tackle. But what I saw when he came on, Richalison, and even when Gio came on, even in the 87th minute, he knew what it was about. He's coming on, and there's a little bit of afters on Saliba, a little bit of afters on Gabriel. Those two are going in. You need to be nasty. Not sat in the tunnel going, oh, hello, guys. Yeah, nice haircut. Who done that for you, right? I want to see, it's a London derby. And as Dave said, right, Hojbjerg's a warrior. But let's be honest, right? He started 9 games this season and 1-1, right? He's better as a sub. I expected to see Pape Sarr. And as Dave rightly said, when Pape Sarr came on, he seemed to know more about what a London derby was.
You know what,
James
Johnny?
Madison.
Just before we move on to that subject, just the Kulusevski thing, just quickly. That does come from Ange. Johnny's 100% right. At Celtic, their wingers kept on going down and drawing free kicks and stuff. He brought in Harry Kewell, especially to work with the wingers, to teach them to ride contact, to keep going and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that Kulusevski trip, where he should have went down straight away, realised it was in the box, be smart, bit of dark arts, at least make VAR look at it, right? The fact he stayed on his feet, that's taught into them to ride the contact and keep going. That's from Ange specifically.
In any event, I know that maybe you make it more of a difficult decision to overrule when you don't go down immediately, but I think he was doing his best to stand his feet. Again, I get naive, I get it, right? You got to play the devil's game sort of thing. However, I think that that's a foul regardless. Any other part on the pitch, that's a free kick.
Yeah.
Any other game, any other day, any other ref, any other VAR, and that is overturned. But the fact that Arsenal go down the other end of the pitch and score, it's a 2-goal swing. And with the kind of size of the kind of consequences of that, I don't know. I think Michael Oliver abdicates his response, whether it's corruption, whether he just doesn't like Tottenham or thinks that we still owe karma because of the Liverpool thing 6 months ago, even though we paid that debt back 10 times over since. But he's got it in for Tottenham. Either that or he's incompetent. But handing over responsibility to VAR for 50-50s all the time is... It's ridiculous. Like the VAR is, and I think Ange gone on to said it as well. He said he doesn't think the referees referee the game anymore. It's refereed somewhere else. And I agree with him. And so whilst the kind of narrative thus far in this show has been very much, we're not smart enough, we're Ange picked the wrong team, whatever. personally, I think that on another day, if decisions that are 50-50 or 60-40 in our favour actually go in our favour, Romero should have had a penalty. Kulusevski should have had a penalty. Saka's goal should have been rightly ruled out.
We're not denying that. We're not denying that, Sean. You're 100% right. What I'm trying to say here, though, is if you deal with the fundamental elephant in the frigging room, which is the defence, right, and setting up defence, then these conversations become null and void. I'll tell you one thing. If that tackle was on Saka or Havertz, they're going down, they're rolling around, they're clipping their ankle, they're screaming, right? They know how to do it. Arsenal, I've said this before on other streams, Arsenal practice the dark arts. They practice when you're losing the game and the momentum's going against you, you go down, you delay the game. When we scored that first goal, they killed the game. Michael Oliver allowed that game to be killed. He allowed them to do everything. All he kept doing was pointing to his clock, to his watch. And then that incident with Richalison and Gabriel, did you see him holding Gabriel back? I mean, don't do it, son. I'll deal with this. Let me deal with this. And the challenge from Partey on Romero. There were so many things, Sean. You're not wrong in what you're saying. He let them control the game. Michael Oliver let Arsenal control the game. Arteta was on the pitch. There was times where there was a break and all 10
They're over there having water. They're over there having the tea break.
Yeah, they're having the tea break.
And we have to wait for them to finish.
Yeah, we have to wait for them to finish their
I was going ballistic.
Yeah. It's and he allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
He allowed that to happen. And, I think, they know how to play the game. And these little things, these little edges, undoing his glove, Partey pushing him up, push the boundaries to the limits, where we've got a manager who says he doesn't want us arguing with the referee. He doesn't want us diving. He wants us to play in the 95th minute the same as the first minute, even if we're 1-0 up in the 95th minute and risk conceding a goal. There are things which I'm not quite understanding, but to your point,
I don't mind. I'm not right now. My focus is not in any way, shape, or form on asking him to adapt philosophically. So I think it's a waste of energy.
Yeah,
but you don't need to change your approach to football by adapting set pieces. That's a restructural thing. That's something completely different. You can still maintain your kind of gung-ho approach to football in open play, which I don't have a problem with. Like I say, I think that for the most part, there's been a few games this season where we've been absolutely torn apart. But go back to the start of the season, and I said at the start of the season, I'm sure everyone else did as well, there's going to be games this year where this system is going to get caught out and found out. I didn't think it happened in the games that I thought it would have done, but it happened in the games maybe like Newcastle away, Brighton away, where didn't expect it. But against the top teams, I think we've been their match for the most part. I think we'll be a good match for Chelsea on Thursday. I think we'll be a good match for Liverpool
on
the weekend.
Sean, did you not think, though, come on, we all did, right? Myself included, right? Listen, we've lost 4 and drawn 1 since the Chelsea game. It's okay, though, because we've got injuries, we're riddled. I accepted all of that. Wait till we get our team back. We'll show them, right?
Yeah.
Wait till we get our full-strength team. Well, I'm sorry. We've got our full-strength team back, and we are not. We're not that team. I mean, right now, we're sitting. Since Chelsea, we're 10th in the league on form, right? Since the Chelsea game.
Right, but I think you can definitely see improvements in certain areas of the pitch where players are starting to learn what they're being asked to do. Timo Werner, when he first came in, wasn't taking players on, but he seems to have – not that I'm a fan of signing him on a permanent deal, by the way, but I think that you're seeing I don't know, but you're seeing a more frequency of him, players like Brennan Johnson, doing more direct stuff. It's just whether or not they've got the output at the end of it, and I don't think they do. And I'd hate to think that people like Brennan Johnson are going to be players that forever sit in that second-tier bucket where you're alongside Adama Traore and Jeremy Doku, where you've got all of the interesting, exciting stuff where you're kind of on the edge of your feet or on the edge of your seat, but you don't actually get the ball into its final position to get an output from it. Players like Saka, 1 chance, 1 goal, almost got the second goal, but if it wasn't for a worldie from
How much was Doku? 50
50 million, was it? I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, with the greatest respect, number one, I don't get up off my seat with Brennan Johnson's on the ball. Number two, he doesn't look at this. Listen, I hope he goes on to prove me totally wrong, but he doesn't look anywhere near a 47 million pound player. He's crossing. He got into positions. I've got to say, he played well yesterday. Million. He did play well, right? But when you're in those, well, I thought he got into position, but those crosses. Oh my God! I mean, was he crossing for his girlfriend to catch the ball?
Mean, he must have thought Peter Crouch was up front. It was absolutely embarrassing. I mean, every single one of them straight up in the air for David Raya to come out and catch. That's bread and butter for a goalkeeper. That's why he didn't play well. He's like that most weeks. He gets into great, promising positions, but often when you need that final ball, when you need that little bit of composure for that ball to be delivered in, he flushes lines more often.
It's not good enough.
It's nowhere near good enough for the money that we signed. Now, one thing I will say is, one thing that people don't talk about enough when it comes to the Brennan Johnson signing is, we had no option but to go into the English market for a player. We had to hit that market because of the homegrown side of the squad at that time when we signed Brennan Johnson. Now, I take the arguments, could we have gone and signed an Eze or someone like that? Of course we could have. But no one talks about that. We were reduced. 90% of the market.
Same reason why we're going to get Tottenham Hotspur. Same reason.
I hope we do get Tosin.
But look, I've said this a long time ago. The homegrown quota in this squad is the next thing that needs to be rebuilt. That's why I think there will be strong emphasis looking into the academy next year and bringing up one or two of them youngsters, because the club ain't going to keep going out and spending 50, 60, 70 million on bang average players because they come with a premium because of the homegrown quota. Every club knows when they're selling a player, I'll get a bit more for that because they need it to meet the quota. So for me, in order to get a full squad, that has to be the side that is leveraged now. That has to be the side that's going to be improved. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen somewhat in the summer. You will clear out the likes of Hojbjerg, which will open the foreign market for you and stuff like that. But I'm telling you now, one or the two of them players will end up coming up because that homegrown side is being an Achilles heel. Since you sell Harry Kane and stuff like that and people like that have gone, we haven't addressed it properly. And in order to get a full squad, that has to happen.
Completely agree. Absolutely agree. Look, just on that particular point, and I'm going to take a breather for super chats. That's the reason why I think that Tottenham are going to look at a Lloyd Kelly if we want to get balanced and go for a left-footed, left-sided guy, or a Tottenham Hotspur if Ange doesn't seem to care about left and right, because they're both free transfers, both count as homegrown, even though free transfers are not free.
Kelly, mate. I'd rather get Gene Kelly than Lloyd Kelly.
But the overarching narrative, I think that we are going to have to go, and that's probably why Conor Gallagher is still on everybody's lips, even though I don't know where he fits in and exactly what position he's going to be asked to do. Because I think that versatility in the midfield is what we've already got too much of and not enough specificity. And I think that it's become clear, for me at least, it's been clear since before Ange managed his first game, that we don't have a midfielder that can play the Callum McGregor role at the Premier League level. Even in Bentancur, Hojbjerg, Bissouma, none of those guys have the right variables in their kind of locker, the right armory to be able to do it. Johnny, I know you want to come in. I just want to spend a couple of seconds. I'm well behind on a few super chats. Give me a couple of seconds. Benny Boy Kaufman, member for 21. Thank you so much for the super chat. I know I said that to you. Already called this one out, but thank you for the ongoing support, my man of the channel. I love you, Benny Boy. Hope you're okay. Jory, big up to Jozza. Member for 3 months. Facts, win or lose, we have been regressing since Chelsea. That's on to Johnny's point. Big up, Joz. I hope you're okay, mate. Thank you for your support as well. Blaine Devlin, big up, Blaney. Member for 8 months. How dare you stream while I'm working and distract me, Sean? Big up, lads. Issues persist on the pitch. I'll hold judgment back till after the summer. Yeah, exactly. Look, for me, 100%. I'm on board with this. I want to see it play out. As I said, I think you have to let the jelly set on this particular style of football.
Jelly and ice cream.
Jelly and ice cream, and then and see how it goes. Like, people that are calling for it to be ended now, where do you go from here? If you chuck it in now, it's just that it's silly. It's far too early. But thank you for the super chat. But thank you for the support, Blaine. Martin Knightsbridge, big up, Martin. It's okay having a philosophy, but basics are a must.
Correct.
100%. Set pieces don't need to change your philosophy as well, by the way, as I've said 100 times. Appreciate you, mate. Blaine Devlin again with a big one. Thanks, Blaine. My one comment, hate it or love it, Son is in decline. Is it time we look to cash in because he's been off the boil for 10 games now and he's not getting younger? Time to cash in. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. That's an interesting talking point, Blaine. But thank you very much for the super chat, mate. We'll discuss that in a second. And Jory's here again. Big up, Jozza. Ange is fully found out and he is not reacting. Same issue since before Christmas. He doesn't have the answers. I'm Ange in, but we won't win anything with him.
I disagree.
I mean, yeah. Sorry, go on, Dave.
I was just going to say I disagree slightly with the first part of what Jerry's saying. I think to a degree, that teams have found out a way. Team gave us respect. They thought we'd be the same old Tottenham, press us high, take the ball off them. They played the high line. We exploited it. Then we had to rely on some players that weren't technically as good and stuff like that. And then over the course of that time, team found out, just sit back against Tottenham, take the ball off them, go and hit them on the counter, go and hit them up the other end. But, to answer these questions, we just don't have the personnel in the front line to have the answer to these questions. I mean, what do you want the guy to do? Richalison hasn't been available for how long? So for me, I don't think he has all the options. We can sit here and blame the manager all we want. But, the world's best striker was sold from beneath his feet the day before the season starts. They could have done that earlier, and they could have brought someone to replace them. Yeah, but look, to a degree, he knew he was going. But why couldn't the club get that done earlier to give him a chance to replace Harry Kane with a striker, to give him a full opportunity? I get that people are getting sort of, questioning Ange and stuff like that. You're well within your right. Anyone that comes to this club, we as fans, we're well within our right to question them if we're not happy. That's first and foremost. That's what we do.
Would you prefer,
I do think there's a bit of an unfair narrative surrounding Ange. I don't think many people talk about, does he have all the solutions in the squad to the problem? You could argue the same under Conte. You could argue the same under Jose. We can't keep making the managers the fall guy for everything that goes wrong. But that's where I disagree with you.
You also can't expect the club to be able to buy 20 new players in 1 year. You have to allow that thing to shake through as well.
But he's got plenty of players that has come in. Listen, what I'm looking for, I understand we are in development. I get that. So what I want to see is development, is experimenting, taking risk. And what I mentioned before about Dragusin coming in, Romero switching to the 6. If we'd have got beaten under that, I would have said, you know what? Look, he's trying. He's finding out his team. I understand that. And to be honest with you, when you're playing Son up front, I don't care what anyone says. Son cannot play the number 9 role. He won 18% of headers this season, guys. 18%. He can't hold up a ball.
And I bet you most of them were uncontested, by the way.
Probably 18%,
can't cross a ball.
Guys. 18%. Let that sink in, right? I think Kulu has not really excelled in the position I thought he was going to excel in this season, which was coming inside. But I would have even played Kulu as a false 9 because he has the strength to at least hold the ball up the pitch. He wouldn't be my first choice, but without a Richalison, that would be my go-to. And there's little things and tweaks like that to experiment, but to come into a London derby and bring in Bentancur, who I love, but is just not on the money, and Hojbjerg, for me, it was a strange choice to be with, coupled with.
Doesn't the fact though that he played Hojbjerg? Doesn't the fact, like, this notion that he doesn't set up or doesn't consider opposition tactics, and he just spends all week on the training ground just doing, rehearsing the same thing over and over again, doesn't the fact that he played Hojbjerg, Dave, suggest that he at least considered the fact that the midfield battle was going to be tough and physical, and you'd better off having a Hojbjerg in there than a Pape Matar?
Look, there's a lot of narrative around, like you said, that Ange doesn't try things or change things. He makes substitutions at halftime more regularly than what Conte and Jose Mourinho did. He's made some adaptations to the lineup for the North London derby off the back of the Newcastle game and stuff like that. He is trying. But just because they don't work out, that ain't on him. Some of the players that he's using to try and change things, players that are here long before he arrived here, and stuff like that. So, I disagree with a lot of it, that he doesn't try things and stuff like that. There's only so much he can try.
Talking about experimenting, Dave.
I'm talking about one second. I agree with you when it comes to, maybe trying Kulu up front for a period of time. But this is the problem with Tottenham Hotspur. We keep repurposing players rather than go out and sign a problem to solve the solution. We've moved Son from left wing to a striker, which he clearly isn't a striker. You've done it with Eric Dyer, moved him from centre mid back to centre back. Ben Davies from left back into left-sided centre back and stuff like that. We have to stop repurposing players. It doesn't work out for Tottenham Hotspur. We have to go and sign the right players in the right positions. And until you do that, until you get a squad No manager is ever going to have a problem, and we're always going to keep asking the same questions. I'll be quite frank. I am sick to tired and I am bored of going around in circles every single season, coming towards the end of the season, asking the same questions about managers. It was the same under Conte. A lot of people saying the same thing last season. He's not trying anything. He's not doing enough. He's not adapting. He's not doing this. And it was the same under Jose Mourinho. It was the same under Nuno. I'm sorry, but as a fan base, are we not sick and tired single season asking the same questions to managers? When are we going to stop and say, no, we're going to back this guy to the hilt and we're going to send a message to the board? Lastly, what I will say
we have backed.
I think it's a fallacy.
Dave. One second. Lastly, what I will say is I've lost my point now. Sorry, go on, Johnny.
No, I think it's a fallacy. Sorry, I didn't. Listen, I think it's a fallacy, right? This Ange hasn't had support, right? Let's look at the players, right? Vicario, right? Authorised by him. No, hang on, let me go through them, right?
I'm not saying he hasn't had support, though, but he hasn't had the support to the level. Like, we're holding him to a standard of
I'm just
Guardiola and Arteta, but he hasn't had that many transfer windows to have that level of support.
Listen, I'm not saying he hasn't, Dave. What I'm saying is there's a narrative out there from people saying he hasn't had any players, right? He hasn't had anybody, right? Well, let's look at it, right? I'm not saying you're saying that, but Vicario, right? No one is going to say Vicario was a bad purchase. Pedro Porro is a better player this season than he was last season and better than Emerson in that position. No one's questioning Romero. No one's questioning Micky Van De Ven, right?
No one's questioning Destiny Udogie.
No one's questioning Destiny Udogie. James Maddison was his purchase, right? No two ways about it, right? Pape Matar Sarr, he's gone on about how amazing he is. Brennan Johnson was his signing. Timo Werner was his signing. And Dragusin was his signing. So, yes, he needs probably another 2 windows. But this narrative that, he hasn't been backed and he hasn't had anybody and wait till he gets his players. He also wanted Manor Solomon. He was happy for Manor Solomon to come in. So, look. I want him to stay. I want him to succeed because I don't want another season, like you say, Dave, where we're getting rid of another manager. And when I say experimenting, we more or less know what's going to happen. And, there are times.
Is it so bad, though, being a master of one?
Can I just say that quickly? That was the point I was going to get to next, actually, Johnny, is I get the experimentation. But what it does, it dilutes 100%. The transfer plans in the summer. Someone might come in and do something that you don't expect for a little period of time. All of a sudden, you say, for instance, Kulu goes up front, he bangs in a couple of goals, right? Club don't go out and buy a striker this summer. You go into next season, and with Kulu, he doesn't score the goals that many people expected off the back of maybe scoring a couple of goals up there. And then all of a sudden, you're back in the same position. For me, I think Ange is putting it full on display. This is the way I play. This is what I'm doing. It's up to you now to provide me all the pieces of the puzzle I need to help make this work, rather than trying different things and convoluting it. Because, look, to a degree, Conte tried some different things. It didn't help him out. Jose tried some different things. It didn't help him out. So I think Ange is just making it fully clear, putting it on display. This is what I need. Give it.
But how many times? But how many times in football have we seen? We saw it with Gareth Bale, for example, right? Gareth Bale would never have played had Esil Cotto not got injured, right? He wouldn't have played it because he was on the losing side 23 times. And what I'm saying is sometimes injury, Mainu probably wouldn't have played with had all those injuries, and Mainu come in and he's made
out of adversity comes opportunity, and sometimes your hand is
and the boy Smiley at Newcastle was another one, right? The league is littered with players coming in. And
they get a chance through.
They get a chance, like the boy who I wanted at Blackburn, Walton, right? They've had terrible injuries in the middle of the park. He's come in, didn't think he'd start, and he's been ever present there. He's been sensational, and I just think I hear what you're saying, but take a risk, right? I personally, as a fan, would respect Ange more if he'd have taken a risk yesterday, and in a couple of other games where we had those injuries. Let's play 4 left backs instead, or 4 backs instead. Let's try something else, right? And I don't think he's too willing to experiment
You're right. Yeah, James Maddison keeps his spot and doesn't deserve it.
Correct.
Giving 3 minutes to Lo Celso is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, so back to this particular super chat, we've got a few more to go through. So I do want to just get back to Blaine's question on Sonny. Look, for me, just quickly, is it time to cash in? I don't know. Like for me, I don't really, as much as I'm interested in the financial stuff, more than most fans. I personally would think that in this particular philosophy, against the way that most teams set up against us, Sonny is clearly not as good as a left winger as he was 2 or 3 years ago. He's lost a little bit, a quarter yard of pace, maybe not a half yard, but a quarter yard of pace. He's not quite as confident taking players on off the left-hand side. Through the middle, he can't hold the ball up when teams do low blocks. And so that notwithstanding, he is still one of the best players in the world, a player that you'd rather have him than basically 99.9% of players in specific scenarios where he gets in behind, the ball runs through, and he catches teams out, and he's one-on-one with the keeper. There's no one in the world I'd rather have in that situation than him to find the bottom corner of the net. But how many times is that going to happen in this philosophy, in this system, against the way that teams set up against us? I would say fewer than ever before. And so on that basis, if his outstanding value is going to be seen fewer and fewer times, then all you're going to be left with is a bigger and bigger sample size of the frustrations. He's got 1 year left on his contract, and maybe a horrible take. People are probably going to disagree. But if someone like Saudi Arabia was to come in and offer silly money, and he was to be offered silly money by Saudi Arabia, and he got together with the club and both of them were mutually on board with it, I wouldn't stand in his way. Because I think if you could sell him and Richarlison and get yourself 100 million quid, I think that Tottenham could do a lot of work in a crucial area of the pitch and get some players in that are top tier, that are younger, that you can rebuild and build the squad around for the future. He is 31. If you give him that last year and re-sign him for an extra year or two, he'll be 33 and 34. And so all of the things that you're starting to see, or that Blaine says that you're seeing in the decline, that stuff will be amplified over the coming years. So for me, I'm not sure it's time to cash in if there's a willingness or a resentment on Sonny's part. If he wants to stay, maybe you still keep him as an ambassador. He's important for the finances. But if there's a willingness on both sides, I wouldn't stand in his way. I just would like to get your take on Sonny, boys. Is it time to cash in?
Johnny, you go first, lad.
All right. Well, listen. Korea don't hate me. Look, the thing is, Levy's not selling him. Let's be serious, right? We would earn more money in the next 18 months from shirt sales, income from AIA, all the events, going out to Korea, sponsorship deals, and everything else than we would get from the transfer. So it ain't happening. So what I would do, I think he needs to become a squad player. There needs to be a challenge for his position. Next year, hopefully, please God, we will be playing 55 games instead of 41. Hopefully 60 games, right? But say 55, okay? This squad is not capable of playing 55 games under Ange. So, and he's not capable of playing it. So, put him in a situation where he's playing 25 games a season, but he's playing fresh. And getting someone on that left side, a Nico Williams, right, who is going to be playing those games, and you bring in Sonny for some big important games. We need competition, the same as we need competition for Maddison. So I keep him in the squad. I think it's more likely we sell Richarlison. And again, if we sell Richarlison, we can't just buy one striker. I keep saying this. Everyone, get rid of Richarlison and just get another. No, we have to have two. If we lose one, and listen, Alexander Isak, fantastic. But tell you what, have a look at his heading stats. Shambolic, right? He's terrible in the air. He's brilliant with his feet, brilliant, but not great in the air. Look at his stats, everybody. Go and have a look at them. You'll see for yourself. So for me, I think it's more realistic that we keep Sonny, but we need a world-class backup left-sided player, and we sell Richarlison for 50, 60 million to Saudi. And we then have to bring in two quality strikers. Very difficult. All these Spurs fans who say, we need a 30 goal. They don't exist. 30 goal a season strikers don't exist right now. You know, even your likes of Salah and the
but there's maybe 7 or 8 strikers out there in European football that aren't playing for clubs that you couldn't convince to come, and
I'm just saying,
and that are exciting, young enough that you could build for the future with, that are doing it in their own leagues. And obviously, you got to be convinced that they're going to take the step up to the Premier League. But there's not. I know they're in short supply and high demand, but the supply isn't. You're not scraping the barrel. There are players out there that you could.
No, there are, but fans have to be realistic. And what I worry about is, you know, the same as Richarlison had. I mean, Richarlison had a terrible start, but my point is, you go and buy 2 strikers, and our fan base are a nightmare, right? Could you imagine, like 3 games in, he hasn't scored a goal? Oh, well, you know, what have we bought here? You know, it will start, and straight away you'll have a divided fan base. 3 games in, the guy hasn't scored the goal. You know, what have we bought? I hope it doesn't go that way, and we unearth a gem. But they're not easy to find. But I don't know what you think, Dave, but I feel like we have to keep Son as an ambassador role, as some experience, as a squad member. But one thing only, right? Please make Kuti captain, because on the pitch, when it's going well, fine. Son is great. But when the chips are down, there was only one leader on that pitch yesterday, and it was Kuti Romero, and we all know it.
Look, for me, when it comes to the whole Son argument, first of all, I think Jimenez was at the North London Derby, so does that give you a glimpse of maybe who's going to be coming in here maybe in the summer? That'll be interesting. But look, when it comes to Son, I'll be brutally honest. I tried to highlight this problem in the summer, and no one wanted to hear it because they thought I loved Harry Kane and I didn't know what was best for Tottenham. I tried to highlight the problems that were going to come along the line this season with Sonny up front. Now, look, to a certain degree, Sonny's done a great job. You know, he's filled in lovely. People say Ange doesn't try things. Well, he's put Son up front to try and, you know, at times to try and score goals and stuff like that. So he is trying. But look, there's so many. The first and fundamental thing that Son lacks to be able to be a quality number 9 is he can't hold up the ball. He cannot play with his back to goal. 3 or 4 goals recently have come from him losing the ball and being turned straight on us. He cannot play with his back to goal. Where Son has always been best is running directly at goal. With the way teams set up against us now, we can't get him into them positions. I've been campaigning for a long time this season. Get Son back out onto the left. Everyone's going on like Son is in decline. Now, look, to a certain degree, age might be catching up on him just a little bit. But look, this is where I've argued before. This is where Spurs needed to get a plan in place for selling Harry Kane, for selling the likes of Son. That day was going to come. And we didn't put that plan in place. We didn't buy the right pieces of the puzzle to conjugate for that. But when it comes to Son, I'd argue everyone goes, oh, he can't play left wing anymore. He's finished off the left wing. I'd argue to the contrary. I think if we had a proper number 9, I think you'd see stats a lot more improved. Same with Kulusevski off the right-hand side as well. Richarlison, he's done a job at times this season when Son was off representing Korea and stuff, but he just hasn't been fit for the full season, and that's the guy's problem. You can't rely on him over the course of a full season. But I don't buy that Son's in decline and everything else. Just the lack of a proper striker at Tottenham completely holds us back on the football pitch, and it affects everyone else's numbers around them when you don't have that world-class striker putting the ball in the back of the net. And that's been a huge problem for Tottenham this season. It's been a huge problem. So for me, I'd actually keep Son, and I'd keep Richarlison, and I'd go and buy another striker, because what we can't do is sell Richarlison, bring in one striker, and get back to where we were before with Harry Kane. 100%. Just having one striker at the football club. You have to have 2 for every single position. So for me, you keep Son, you keep Richarlison, and you go and buy someone, you know, to come in up front.
That means then you're sending Timo Werner home, selling Brian Hill to make space, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I think Timo hasn't done. Can I just go back to Savo's comment there, right? Sava.
Which one?
Sava about Isak, right? I never said it is. I'm not saying Isak is a bad striker. He's a world-class finisher. I'm just saying he's bad in the air. So if he's going to play the Kygo role where the balls are going to come low, right? Isak's that perfect player for that role. If you're going to play balls high into the box, he's not really your man. But I'm 100% with Dave. You know, I don't really want to sell Richarlison, but if he's going to go, which all fans seem to want him to go, what I saw yesterday was a guy who came on the pitch who wanted it as much
100%.
as...
You can never argue with his passion. I personally think, though, that in the half an hour he had,
Well, he made it happen.
But he did get involved in 2 or 3 tussles. He shouldered Gabriel. I know Gabriel stood in his way, or Saliba, but he almost took his chin out. Right in that it was like a game of like, what was that game Tornado used to play at school where you just run through everyone. But listen, I think that if that game was if he had 90 minutes in that game, I think he would have got sent off personally. I think he got to his head a little bit like it didn't Romero. I don't hate Richarlison. I just don't think he's the guy, and I worry if he were to go and bring in a striker that gets ahead of him in the pecking order, like a Jimenez, like a someone said in the chat, Benjamin Sesko, love to get him. He's absolutely phenomenal in my mind. But if you were to go and get someone who starts ahead of him, then you're going to see a regression in Richarlison's mentality. He's going to be sulky again and like, me.
But we say that Son has started ahead of him, and we haven't seen it this season.
Sean, it ain't happening.
When he's fully fit, Richarlison gets a lot of the minutes.
Listen, Sean. This season, right, is the first time in 19, nearly 20 years that this has happened, right? Playing 41 games, okay? In a normal season, when you're in Europe, right? Yeah,
you're going to play more. I know.
This is a non-conversation. You should be having 15 games more. We had no run in the cups, right? We were out in the first round of the cup. We were out like almost the first round of the FA Cup. We were not in Europe. Add in Europe, Europa League. Yeah. Add in the cups, right?
8 more games at least, and then a couple of cup games. Yeah.
I hear you. Exactly.
I hear you. Listen, like I say, Richarlison as a person, I do love, but I just worry a little bit about the guy's mental resilience. I think, and this is not to diminish or anything what he's going through. If anything, I'm sympathetic and empathetic to it. But the guy is a little bit all over the place with his emotions, and I don't know if that to me is a good thing to have around a football club. I'm not a mental health expert though, so
I want people who are going to go in and honestly, I'm old school, Sean. Right? I think if back in the day, when I used to play football, right. Guys would come out and they'd let you know that they were there. In fact, they'd whisper in your ear, if you come past me, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, right? There was intimidation and there was comments. There was, leaving a mark on you, like Gabriel left his mark 2nd minute on Maddison, and Maddison was invisible for the rest of the game, right? Now, for me, I would have taken him off because I would have taken him off.
Madison shouldn't have been on the pitch after half. He should have. I don't think he should have even started, to be honest. But
no, correct.
On form basis, but. Listen, guys, there's about not 15. It's about 10 super chats I've got to catch up on.
Go on.
And we'll come back to this unless there's another pivot in the narrative here, guys. There's about 700 people watching across socials. I'm not sure how many on YouTube, but can you hit the like button for me? I'm sure the numbers could be better. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already on this channel. Get over to Sean Butler TV if you want football finance related content that's not about Tottenham specifically. Get over to Johnny on Twitter. I put the link in. I'll put it in again in a second. Follow him, get his socials there, and get over to Dave's channel, the Irish Hotspur, where you're going to see him every day, him and Jackie Boy. And really appreciate all of your support, guys. Look, the super chats are coming in today. I really appreciate it, and we've got to catch up with them. So, Adrian Chia, big ups, Adrian, saying, my worry is what happens if Ange don't get the right players he needs for his system next season. Where do we go from there then? Give it yet another year. Look, this summer's massive. I mean, you say it every year. This summer is massive, but you have to. Like, for me, I've said it all for a long time now. I don't think we're that far away in terms of first 11 players. I think you need 3 players that are always going to be first team contenders that we don't have right now. It's a left winger, a striker, and a solid defensive midfielder. And then beyond that, I think you need some rotational players or some players that can compete with Destiny Udogie and or Pedro Porro if you can get like a hybrid. I think you need another centre-back, whether it's that Gerstruida from Feyenoord who plays right back.
He's my favourite.
He's wonderful player, but I personally foresee us going after more homegrown players for the rotation. That's why I said Tosin or Lloyd Kelly makes a lot of sense as a centre-back option. I think we need another goalkeeper to compete because I don't think Fraser Foster would handle this system at all.
The treat.
We're not that far away, Adrian. We're not that far away, in my opinion. Can
I just say, Adrian, right? In my opinion, right, what happens if he doesn't get the right players? He's going to get the right players because no player is coming in without him sanctioning it. That's how it's working. Fabio and Lange will present him the players that they can get, and they will tell him, look, we can get X, Y, and Z, and he will choose from those. And as we all know, Fabio will present 4 or 5 different options within the position that he wants. So this isn't the old school. This isn't old school where the club are just buying players willy-nilly and dumping them on managers, right? Okay, we're not having that anymore. This is not how it's being run. So he will get the players. He might not get his first choice because the club might not be the first choice of the player.
Dave, anything to say to Adrian?
Look, for me, you know, you see progression next year. I think that's what you judge it off. Let's not forget, you know, Arteta had how many seasons to build what he did at Arsenal, you know, 8th, 5th, and then, you know, look where they are now, Klopp at Liverpool and stuff like that. What I will say is I was going to put a video together in around when Pochettino come in, because I remember at the end of that, for his first season, there was similar noise around Pochettino. He's naive, you know, he's not good enough. You know, does he have the experience? You know, it's different ball game managing Tottenham than Southampton. But what and a lot of people say this summer, they're worried about younger signings coming in. I get it to a degree. But go and look at some of the signings that Pochettino made when he came in. You know, he made young signings. Ben Davies was young at the time. Dyer was young at the time. People like that, you know, were coming in. And look, okay, we didn't go and win anything, but it did get us nearly to the promised land. So I do think, you know, we need to stick with Ange Postecoglou heading into next season. You know, he's finishing 5th, or he looks like we could finish 5th. It's where Pochettino finished in his first season, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And I think there is something to build off. I liken it back then. And I just think we need to show Ange a little bit of patience.
It's not a disaster,
we go on about Pochettino, but many fans forget they weren't showing him the patience in the first season. And people
100%.
talk about Ange tweaking. Pochettino tweaked when he had more players to his liking that suited his system into the following season in terms of wing play and stuff like that. It is a video that I'm looking to put together if anyone's interested. So,
yeah, look, just on that, right? On that, just quickly, in terms of changes.
Yeah.
So there's 2 tweets that I shared with Pete yesterday, because Pete's someone who's very much he doesn't think Ange is the guy. So there's one that says from this guy Joe GFTBL. He says, if you're looking for a reason to be optimistic about the situation regarding set pieces, 33% of goals Celtic conceded in the league during Ange's first season came from set pieces. That went down to 15% in season 2. So he did make adjustments. Then the Spurs Pete responded to me with a counter to that. He said from the Spurs Watch, another tweet. In February 2022, an article was written about Ange Postecoglou Celtic and their set piece struggles. Quote, lack of aggression, zonal marking, and Hart not commanding his 6-yard box. It keeps happening. Celtic will be in complete control of a game, pressing well, dominating possession, and limiting their opponents to half chances. Then their opponents win a corner or a free kick in Celtic's half. They score, and in an instant, all of Celtic's control means nothing. And that was from the Athletic.
Sleep, repeat. Eat, sleep, repeat. Look.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I'm not going to say it again. We all know it, right? Get your head out the sand, right? All great teams are built on a fantastic defence, right? Toby, this is the best defence we've had since Toby and Jan, in my opinion. You look at that Arsenal defence, right? Saliba and Gabriel, right? They've hardly conceded a goal all season. There's a reason they are where they are. There's a reason for it. There was a Gooner who was just in. Just now.
Yeah, I've got to bring up his chat. There's super chats here. I just want to point out Dave and Johnny's links are there. So Nikal, really appreciate it, mate. Nice for you to come in to join the conversation. Sorry, it's been about 40 minutes since you put the post in. We're well behind on super chats. Non-delusional Gooner here. Honest opinion, that was the most bizarre North London derby I've ever watched in my life. Ange isn't far off from turning Spurs into a force again. Arteta was given time, patience. Yeah, appreciate that, mate. Appreciate your take on it. Be interesting. You haven't got to put a super chat in to let me to say this, but if you're still watching, let me know if you think that Arsenal were the better team on the day. I wouldn't mind getting an honest or like a non-delusional Gooner's take, but do appreciate the super chat. I generally agree, mate. I think that Ange isn't far away. He does need help in certain areas. I think that he will get it, or I hope he'll get it this summer. And with just a few minor tweaks to certain areas, departments of the game, we can reduce and concede 15, 20 fewer goals. And if we do that, then it's halfway to that 30-goal swing that you need for Tottenham to be able to have a goal difference that's comparable to Arsenal, City, and Liverpool. And again, like, you fix the set pieces, get a better 6 in, have a bit more luxury with injuries, a bit more help from the VAR occasionally, and I don't think we're that far away. Dave, what do you want to say to Nikhil?
Look, personally, the way I see it is I think, address buy a proper striker in, buy a number 6, maybe another left back to come in and be able to compete with Destiny Udogie and stuff. I don't think we're too far away personally. So I think we should stick with Ange and let's wait and see what happens. Like I said, we were here under Pochettino how many years ago, and most people were calling for his head towards the end of the season. Let's not forget that.
Listen, this is
100%.
21st century football, guys, right? And I keep hearing the same thing. First 11. He'll never make the first 11. He'll never make the first 11. There is no such thing as the first 11 anymore. This is a squad. This is a squad game, right? I don't see Alvarez sitting on the bench going, I can't get a game because Haaland's playing, or Grealish not playing because this one or that one. Look at the rotation in that defence and in that midfield and in the attack. And
yeah,
Spurs,
but the gap between first 11 and bench at City. I mean, they've got 25 close to world-class players, haven't they?
Yeah. No. So what I'm saying is, I expect our bench players, right? Our bench, what way people class as our second 11, which I don't, because I feel, in this day and age with so many games playing, you need a squad. That is the area that needs to be improved, because the drop off between Udogie and Ben Davies is huge. We've seen the other areas, and let's be honest, if Vicario got injured and the tree came into the goal,
it'd be a nightmare. Be an absolute nightmare.
Be a nightmare.
Jory's come in. The one I put up a minute ago, we'd already done. Jory's come back in with this one. Start of the season, Vic, Biz, Madders, Sarr, Sun, Porro, all amazing. Now all have personal crisis depending on the game. It's not the players, it's the management. Sounds like Jory, when you said earlier, I'm not Ange out, I'm Ange in, but we won't win any trophies. It sounds to me like you don't want to say that you're Ange out, but maybe you don't have full faith in him unless he changes. And is he going to change, Jozza? I'm not sure he is too much, but
I think what he's saying, Sean, is Ange not got a clue.
Appreciate the super chat, Jozza. Phil P saying my Sky Blue 87 Hummel away kit is set for the City game. Nice one, mate. Bloody hell, 87. I was 3 years old. I wasn't even aware of Tottenham Hotspur as a thing back then, but I'd like to see it. I'd like, send me a picture, mate. Send me a picture of that one. It looks like a nice, sounds like a nice top. Appreciate the super chat. Martin Knightsbridge coming back in saying Son is a cash cow for Levy. This is going back to the Sun.
Anyway.
I can't see it happening either. That's why I said earlier, I don't think it's going to happen. But if the club were okay with it, and if Sonny wanted to go and cash in and for the last 2 or 3 years make $1 million a week, playing in Saudi Arabia, if that was, I don't think he's driven by money.
He does not need the money.
He doesn't need it, but a lot of players don't need it, but they go over there for a lot of money, right? So, but I don't think that's the sort of thing that will happen. So, I think he'll be here until he retires in all likelihood.
He'll put him in the gardening. You put him, nurturing the bonsai trees up at the training centre rather than letting him go and still paying him the money. He's a cash cow. He is a cash cow,
100%. Moondog, member for 22 months. Wow, I thought when I saw Ben's member for 21 months, that was a record. But to member for 22, you must have been here from the get-go, mate. Really, really appreciate your support, mate. Good afternoon, lads. Joey's backing up with another one. Spot on, Sean. Appreciate that. It's on the manager to set up in a way that yields the most situation that plays into Son's world-class finishing. Ange's system over player. Yeah, when it comes to Son, I'm not saying that that's Ange's fault. I just generally think that the way that teams, he's got a philosophy. That's the way he's always had success. If you've always been good at something, then in his mind, if it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing, right? So you can understand where he's coming from. Everywhere he's gone, he's played a certain way. He's got to trust his method. Otherwise, you're hiring a guy for one thing and then expecting him to be doing something else, which he's never done. Therefore, he's not going to be very good at it. He's going to be almost an amateur at something if it's the first time you're doing it. So, look, if you've given up on Ange, not you, Joe, but if anyone's given up on Ange, doesn't believe in the philosophy, then it's okay to be Ange out. But I think if you were okay with him 6 months ago, you should still be okay with him now because it's first season, and for all the reasons we've said, there's lots of things that he can improve on, but there's lots of things he needs for his system to flourish. And in one of those big departments, I believe, is patience, because, as I say, when you're handing over a lot of responsibility to the players to kind of figure it out on the pitch, if you want to be Romero and become a second striker for the game in the second half, if you want to do that, then that's also going to require other players to fill in. Bissouma went and played centre back, then that's going to there's a lot of kind of dynamism in that fluidity, but that's handing over a lot of responsibility to players that haven't played that long together. So you're going to need to let the jelly set, as I say. I appreciate the super chat.
A lot of jelly references today. You've obviously, I
had some jelly a few days ago. You know why I thought about it? It's because I made some jelly and I went back to the fridge.
I knew it.
I went back to the fridge and after the amount of time that the recipe had suggested I leave it for, and it was still wet and soggy. So I was like, you got to let the jelly set, Sean. And I was like, oh, that's not a bad phrase. Maybe I'll use that to describe Ange's philosophy. And I've used it 4 times in the same show. Kamikaze, appreciate you, mate. A lot of Australians in the house today. Must be late over there for you guys. How about if we put Romero at CDM? He showed he can play that role yesterday. Incisive passes, driving the ball forward, and can read the play. Try it. Boys, interesting topic. I spoke about it yesterday. We've spoken about this on this channel, on this Devil's Advocate show right back in September. Romero as a 6. First of all, do you think he could do it? Second of all, do you think if he was asked, would he be up for it? Would he do it, given that it might disrupt his ability to play Argentina? Third of all, do you think it will ever happen? Do you think there's any chance that Tottenham will ever... I know, Dave, you already said stop shoehorning players, go out and buy what you need. But do you think that if you were to go and put Romero in the CDM, then maybe you could go and get Edmund Tapsoba in the back line instead and not have to worry about the midfield?
No, not at all. Just go and buy a proper number 6, a specialist in that midfield. We got, like I said, we got to stop repurposing players. It does not work out for Tottenham. Last time it worked out was Gareth Bale. Since then, we think we have the edge over people and we can repurpose players. It does not work. If a player ain't doing the job that you need him to do, you get the next guy in. That's the way big clubs operate, that go and challenge for things. You don't allow people to become complacent. You don't move them into positions and stuff like that. Just go and sign a proper midfielder. This is my problem with Tottenham at times. We keep shoehorning players into different positions and send out a narrative that they're now great in this position. Just stop it. Romero's fine at centre-back. He's a good defender and he can pass the ball out from the back. People forget that first and foremost, you need good players on the ball, because a lot of games this season, we've camped ourselves in the opposition third. We've dominated possession, and that all starts with having competent players being able to play out from the back. We've seen in years gone by when you've had Dyer and other people there, Sanchez, people like that. If you can't play out from the back on a consistent basis, it causes you a lot more problems. And, it allows teams to get further up, push on you, turn the ball over. And, that was a lot of our problems over the last few years. We couldn't play out from the back and stuff like that. So for me, you keep Romero there. He's doing a great job. And then you go and get a proper number 6 in here.
Well, for me, I've suggested it. I'd like to see it as an experiment. Look, Sean and I...
Well, we only saying that because we don't have one, though, Johnny. If we had one, saying that, right?
Listen,
until the summer, yeah.
Yeah, for me, and Sean and I have mentioned him many times. I love Geerstrude, at Feyenoord, right? For me, he's a 6. He can play centre-back and he can play right-back. And for me, also...
he was at the club on the weekend, wasn't he? He was,
but he was in the Arsenal part of the ground, right?
Was he?
Yeah, and the other thing
is in the Arsenal crowd as well.
No, he wasn't, right? But he wasn't in any of the boxes, right? The agents' boxes. He was in the premium seats, but not in there. I want Hincapié on that left-hand side, right, as a backup, because he's a top left centre back. He's a top left back, and you talk about repurposing players. I personally, when I look at the videos of Destiny at Udinese, I still see a potential for him to be a left winger. Might be wrong. I might be wrong.
Who?
Destiny. Because he used to pick that ball up on that left-hand side, and once he got moving, right, no one could stop him. He used to cut in, unleash shots. He's got such great upper body strength.
If you were to move to a back 3, I made this point yesterday when you're talking about playing Romero as a 6. You don't need to really. If you not that it's ever going to happen because Ange's never done a back 3. But if you were to play back 3 and go with Dragusin, Romero, and Van De Ven, Dragusin on the right, he's naturally a right-sided centre back that could drift into right back. Van De Ven can then cover the holes left open by the fullbacks when they invert. So if you give the fullbacks the license to be wing backs, Pedro Porro as a wing back is probably less risky and just as useful.
Correct. And look how dangerous.
And Udogie as well would be an absolute. And Udogie was a wing back in Udinese. So, like, to me, if you put that back three, then you have Romero in the middle. He can naturally, when we have the ball, move out of the back three into a 6 role anyway, and just kind of dominate.
Well, he can supplement. Hey, listen, under Conte, Romero constantly used to step up into that midfield to give it some solidity, right? And look, I know Dragusin didn't have the greatest games when he come in, but if you look at him, we were all pretty happy that we signed him. It wasn't, a lot of clubs were after him. I think he's a very good player, and if you did play Dragusin and Micky Van De Ven and him I would rather see him than Romero than Hojbjerg in that 6 role. I'm a fan of Hojbjerg. I just think the system is totally wrong for him. He's been a great servant to this club, but this system just does not serve him well. Sorry. 1 win in 9.
Sorry, Martin. Oh God, I'd love to be at a Latino and jelly party. That sounds like one hell of a good time. Appreciate that. Another super chat as well from Jerome. Thank you, Martin. Jerome, you're saying what I want is for Michael Oliver to be investigated for match fixing. On a serious note, we need another set piece coach. Yeah, Jerome. Look, Michael Oliver hasn't given us a thing since the Liverpool, and in big moments, in big games, he's always gone the other way. Like Dave was alluding to, he sent Romero off, and then he hasn't done the same for the same sort of offence.
Since when is kicking someone in the goalies an issue?
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I mean, seriously. And he didn't even want to go to the monitor. He didn't even want to go to the monitor.
Madness. Absolute madness.
Romero was going to assassinate him. I would have actually condoned Romero, for using violence on him at that point. In fact, I would argue, why not let Romero kick Oliver in the nuts and see how it feels? You know what I mean? Well, it's a joke.
That video, I videoed that, and it's obviously been hijacked by just about everybody and cut up, and Spurs Army and everybody else have nicked the bloody thing, right?
Because you've tagged me in that, right? Every single time someone embeds that video, then you get reposted. So do I. So the amount of I've like unmuted myself from about 400 conversations because
I swear it's like almost 1 million views on my video, right? And I've got bugger all. I've got bugger all out of it.
New followers, yeah, 100%. Look, guys, just to round off then, or last. I don't know how much time you got, but we're going for 1 hour 27. Well, this is what I was going to say. Let's move on to Chelsea. Really appreciate everyone being super respectful in the chat. Different takes on a lot of different things, but this channel is usually very respectful. And you guys have held up your end of the bargain there, so well done. Let's talk about Chelsea, Johnny. Thursday night, Cole Palmer's back. Chelsea have got their injury problems. Tottenham have got theirs. Massive game at the Bridge. How important is it that we rally, that we come back? Is it, do you want us, if we do beat Chelsea, then obviously, and if Villa were to lose to Brighton, then the whole kind of headache around top 4 is.
Brighton couldn't beat Grimsby right now, right? I mean, I don't know what's going on. I think they're on the beach. I don't know what's going on with them.
Sticks to rock.
Listen, I feel like I've got a self-harm week. I was at the game. I'm off to Chelsea, and then 4 hours.
You're going to Chelsea, are you?
Yeah, I got Chelsea away and Liverpool away.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So, glutton for punishment. We have to beat them. I do fear that if we lose to Chelsea, that it could get very, very noisy at the Lane for all the wrong reasons. Because right now, Burnley, I said this about 4 weeks ago, we'd struggle to beat Burnley right now. I mean, they go, what are you talking about? I mean, we couldn't even beat them. We needed a goal and a last-minute unbelievable block from Hojbjerg in the last minute or in injury time to stop them getting a draw at our ground. They even scored 2 goals. I was up there at Burnley. They even scored 2 goals up there when they were shocking and couldn't score for Toffees. We need to win. We need to win. In fact, I think we need 2 wins to guarantee us getting 5th place. Do we not?
Yeah, 6 points gets us 5th place.
Yeah.
That's if but United look like they're going to drop points. So will Newcastle anyway. So it might not even take 6 points. But you've got Sheffield United and Burnley coming up.
I just want us to lose against Man City. I'm sorry. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but I don't.
But let me ask that: is it more important? Like, I see people like Paul O'Keefe putting out a tweet yesterday in response to someone saying, "Oh, Tottenham have got the dilemma or whatever." And Paul O'Keefe was like, "When will it get through all non-Tottenham fans' heads? We don't care about fourth." I'm like, speak for yourself, bro. Like, I think it's massively important we finish fourth if we can, and that's why I think that the Chelsea game is kind of so important. Because if we lose to Chelsea, then fourth is done anyway by the time we get to Man City. So it's irrelevant. Then you might as well just put your feet up. Let City do it. But if fourth is a viable option going into the penultimate game of the season, if Villa drop points and Tottenham do beat Chelsea, Tottenham do get a result against Liverpool. I know massive ifs, but if we do, and fourth is on the cards, for me, I don't understand why we care more about Arsenal not winning than what's in the best interest of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Well, it's different. It's different. Look, Sean, if it's not a thing and we're not finishing fourth, I couldn't give a toss, right? I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, but so in that scenario, fine. But if we beat City and we get fourth, but it hands Arsenal the league,
how will you feel?
Like, for me, I want to be in the. I want the money. I want to be in the Champions League. I don't care about Arsenal.
Sean, we all do. But how would you feel? How would you really feel if the fight that was missing by the vast majority of players against Arsenal suddenly materialised against Man City and we beat them and handed Arsenal the title? It would be, can you imagine the memes?
I don't think the fight was missing. I think we did fight against the Arsenal. No. I think we fought back. I disagree with that.
We got handed that go. Listen, there were players who fought, but they were few and far between. And they were Christian Romero. I thought
Kulusevski had a good game. I thought Kulusevski.
No, I didn't say he didn't have a bad game. I was saying
Van De Ven was phenomenal. I thought
fight. We're talking about fight and determination, right? Once that goal went in from that from Romero's well-taken goal, nothing happened after that. It wasn't piles and piles of pressure, and Rayo was under the cosh. There wasn't a single shot on target. Let's be honest. Let's not make it something it wasn't, right? I didn't see us fighting and challenging. The only thing I saw was when Gio and Richalison and Sarr came on. That's when I saw some determination and fight. But it was few and far between. Maddison might as well not been there, honestly.
Yeah, he's well off it. Yeah, yes, no, I don't know. The way I watched the game, I had a different take. I thought we were playing against one of the best teams in the world, and I think we were their match in open play. And yes, look, we didn't create enough at the top end of the pitch, but we've already discussed and all agreed that we need better quality in that regard. But I don't think we could say that we rolled over and died against Arsenal. I don't think.
No, I didn't say we rolled over. You can see Nicholas Jackson like suddenly turning into like prime Ronaldo
Henry
on Thursday, or Henry. Yeah, suddenly it all gels, and he's banged 2 or 3 in.
How do you see it, Dave?
Look, I'll be brutally honest. We should be beating Chelsea, but there's just some grounds in football you go to that, well, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out in your favour. How many times have we beaten Chelsea over the last 20 years? I think, once under Pochettino with Dele Alli, Kane, Eriksen, all them guys, a proper team we had. I'll be brutally honest. I'm heading into this not expecting anything out of this game, being brutally honest. Look, I want to see fight. I want to try and see them salvage some pride. And also what happened to them earlier on in the season against Chelsea, which sort of derailed our campaign to a large degree. I want the team to go out there and, right some wrongs and stuff like that. But Chelsea is just one of them grounds we go to, and we don't get a result. It doesn't matter what team we've had. We just notoriously do not get a result at Chelsea. So it's going to be a huge ask. I actually think, funny enough, I think we have a better chance against Liverpool at the weekend. I think, with the young squad and stuff like that, I think they're a bit deflated, maybe being out of the title race. I think we could catch them at the weekend. I think we have a better chance against Liverpool than we do against Chelsea, just purely because we are cursed at Stamford Bridge.
Quickly on the Chelsea, if we do beat Chelsea, do you want us to play to our, like, you want us to try and beat Chelsea, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, of course.
Yeah. So if we do beat Chelsea, and then Villa drop points to Brighton. Again, ifs and buts and maybes, all that stuff. But if there is a scenario that plays out that with the penultimate game of the season, Tottenham beat City, we finished fourth, but you hand Arsenal the league. Where do you stand on that?
Well, it is what it is, but it is what it is.
No, that's not an answer. Where do you stand on that? Do you want us to finish fourth, or do you want Arsenal to not win the league?
Listen, champions. Look, it's so Spursy, Sean. It's so Spursy that this is the first time in 9 years where the club, if the system had been in place for the last 9 years, fifth place would always qualify. It's just typical that we're going to finish fifth and not qualify. We don't deserve Champions League football. Okay, that's my opinion. We don't deserve it. And I think for the progression where we are at, remember, right? People said, "Oh, be in the Champions League. If you're not good, you drop down to the Europa League."
No, that doesn't happen this year. I know.
Not this year. So I personally think for our progression, we need to be in the Europa League this season. That's the better.
So you'd rather us hand the top?
Yes, because I think there's more chance of giving the youngsters game time and giving the squad game time in these games. And I want to win something, Sean.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
If you're dressing up, stopping Arsenal winning by saying it's better for Tottenham anyway to be in the Europa League, that's a very political way of saying. I get it. I hear you, Dave. I've got 2 more super chats and then we're going to round off. But Dave, would you want top 4 if it meant Arsenal winning the league, or would you rather Tottenham lose to City and in the better competition for Tottenham's chances?
Do you know what? I'll be brutally honest. I'm sort of sick of being in this position, and it's laughable. Like, it's embarrassing that we're in this position, right? That we're even, maybe talking about this, that this could be a scenario. It's completely embarrassing. And I don't like it. But being brutally honest, I can't see that. The way their fans behaved in our stadium the other day, I can't see them win the league. I cannot see them have that amount of joy again. I'll be brutally honest. It ruined my experience. They're standing there jumping around the place. Songs are coming on. They're doing these stupid dances. They're throwing over gestures left, right, and centre. They're absolutely vile. For me, I can't see them win the league. I don't want to see it happen. So I'd actually rather take fifth. Okay. And watch them cry again, to be brutally honest. I just can't see. I don't want it.
That's it, Dave. That's
fair
it.
Enough.
I'm being brutally honest. I know it's not what's best for Tottenham in the long run in terms of Champions League football and all, but I just can't. I don't want to watch that.
No excuses. No BS. Right? Okay. If we lose to Chelsea and we lose to Liverpool, it's all kicking off. Right? It's all kicking off. And God forbid. Listen, guys. Right? We played Sheffield United when Higginbottom, right, who didn't have a clue, was manager of Sheffield United, and it took us to the 97th minute to score a goal, and we celebrated like we won the FA Cup, right? I think these next.
I'm putting out a poll. There's 700 people. Oh, am I still connected?
Can you still call it a poll? Can you still call it a poll?
I'm putting out
politically incorrect, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm putting out something. I don't know why my computer's frozen. I don't know what's going on. There you go. So the poll's out there. 700 people, 750 people watching. Get your like. I want to see where the fan base falls on this one. Sava the super chat. What will the excuse be if we lose to Chelsea? When can we all agree that we keep buying average players? Nothing is changing, and we won't finish fourth.
Well, that's sanctioned players. The ones that have come in are all been sanctioned by Ange.
Yes, Sava, are you Ange out, mate? You haven't got to put a super chat in. Just let us know in the thing. Have you given up with Ange? You don't think he's good enough, or do you just think it requires the club to give him what he needs to change your mind?
Oh, Ange, not
appreciate the super chat, though, mate. Let us know in the comment how you feel about that. Jerome is saying, sorry, there was zero fight from us. Sorry, I didn't even ask a question. What will the excuse be if we lose to Chelsea? I think there'll be an excuse. So, I mean, I'm not sure what the excuses were today. I think that I think we've gone through the game and there's no excuses. Yeah. Explanations are inability to fix set pieces, not taking your chances, not creating enough, and Arsenal being very clinical. That was the difference.
We won that game. We won that game. That game was won by Spurs. If you address the set pieces, they were not in that game. I'm sorry. They didn't have.
And it wasn't terrible refereeing decisions.
Yeah.
Jerome saying, sorry, there was zero fight from us. Again, a lot of people disagree with me this. I thought there was fight, but obviously I'm in the minority. Some of you. Sorry, there was zero fight from us. Maddison and Son were inexistent. I agree with that. Arsenal did what Newcastle did to us. They sat back and punished us. Well, I think Newcastle did it slightly differently. We made mistakes in the final third, lost in transition, and then they had three players that were just a perfect kryptonite for our scenario when Van De Ven had a bad game. You know, when Van De Ven gets us out of so many sticky situations and when he's off it and Vicario's off it, then that scenario plays out. But I think Arsenal beat us in set pieces and not much else.
7 goals unanswered, though, Sean. 7 goals, 4 goals against Newcastle, 3 goals against Arsenal before we got a gift of a goal and a penalty. But again,
we should have had a penalty for Van De Ven. We should have had Saka's goal should have been overturned, and we should have had a penalty for Romero. And again, the offside for Van De Ven's goal. I don't think that was. I'm not sure those lines were drawn correctly anyway.
I've never heard that before. Gabriel's buttock played him offside.
I don't know how you can possibly know from the angle where his furthest part of his body was. I don't know, because they should have one of those. At rugby, they have those wires where the camera's on like a kind of a zip wire and it just flies up in line with the ball line with the last man.
Sean, let's be honest, mate. Football's dying when you talk about the size of the guy's backside. Gabriel's backside, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Had his backside been a quarter of an inch bigger, right?
If it was my backside. It was my backside, right? It would have been onside,
And the fact that it ricocheted off of 2 players and they didn't purposely attempt to play the ball. I always thought if it comes off of the opposition player, first and foremost, then that becomes an onside ball. But apparently that's not a thing either.
Did Sava put his answer in?
We're 10th, though, since Chelsea, I as I said earlier.
Not sure if that's an answer. You're not Ange out. You're just 0 fight. A lot of people are saying 0 fight. Cooper with the super chat. The only scenario I'll be totally happy with is us winning all of our remaining games and start looking like we can play Ange's style with competence. There you go. So you're happy for that. You're happy for that to mean whatever it means for Arsenal's season. Yeah.
I think that these next few games are really going to define how we go into next season and the mood of Spurs fans in general.
Saba, you were a YouTuber about 3 weeks ago, mate. So you're distancing yourself from the YouTuber vibe. You wasn't that long ago, mate. You were a YouTuber too, buddy. Let me see. Great show, Sean. Appreciate that, Terry. Let me see how that poll is doing. What are we up to? 78% of you say, from 136 votes, 78% say 5th and City. There you go. Arsenal not winning is more important than Tottenham winning.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. All right. Guys, we're going to round it off. Really appreciate everyone coming. Dave, mate, thanks so much. Any final thoughts on how you want the fan base? If you were in control of the fan base narrative, how would you like us to move forward between now and the end of the season? And also let us know where everyone can find you and what's coming up on the channel.
Look, first of all, I don't want to be in control of the fan base narrative. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. Look, for me, I just think I get the questions surrounding Ange, and I get the questions, is he the right guy going forward? But what I would ask many people is, we've gone from defensive managers to an attacking manager. We're still seeing more or less similar problems and stuff like that. For me, when are we going to start talking beyond the manager? When are we going to start talking about giving a manager, exactly what he wants, or at least giving him time to build it? Everyone's comparing him to the guys that are above him. They've all had longer in the job. They've all had more transfer windows and everything else. So for me, when I look at that, I don't think we're too far away from it. I think we're a good summer transfer window. And it has to be a good summer transfer window away from really sort of maybe breaking that sort of gap. When you look at Klopp leaving Liverpool, they're gonna take a hit, So there's an opportunity for us to be able to take their spot in the title race next season if we can have a really good summer, if we bring in a set piece coach and get them to work on little things like that. Like I said, I do get the frustrations around where this is going and stuff like that. But sacking another manager, is that the answer to our problems? I'd argue not. You sack another manager, it means a lot more investment. It means more players, everything else. We can't keep doing this every single year. We moan about the club not winning anything and not going in the right direction. Well, us fans are also a part of that. And fans don't want to hear that. But we're a part of this, because anytime a manager comes in here and doesn't win anything within the first season, automatically we're calling for his head and getting him out of this club. I get we're frustrated not winning things. I'm as frustrated as everybody else. I'm sick of being a loser. I'm sick of not, everyone going at Spurs fans and me, rival fans coming to me and stuff going, oh, you're just bottle jobs and all. I'm absolutely fed up with it. But I also understand in modern day football with the owners that we've got, they're not going to pull 400 million out their hole to give to any manager. So it's always going to be a bit of a process. And I think there has to be a bit of understanding from that, from the fans' point of view, that, okay, you have your problem with the owners, but why do we put all of them then straight on the manager and look to get him sacked all the time? For me, I just think we need to show a bit of patience to Ange Postecoglou and judge it next season, once we've got a good bite-sized sample, to be brutally honest. That's where I would go with it. What I would also say is these players come out and they claim that they love Ange Postecoglou, the way he works and stuff like that, which makes a bit of a change from in years gone by where they couldn't wait to get to the press to tattletale on Jose and Conte. If them players love working under him as much as they say he is, well, the pressure's on him now. Go and alleviate that pressure over the last few games, and you could do a big part of it by beating Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So go and do it. I'm sick of lip service all the time. Son gave us lip service before the game. We're angry, we're hurt, we're disappointed, before the North London derby. We go and we're 3-0 down at 36, 38 minutes. It's still symbiotic of years gone by where it's all lip service, not enough action. I want bloody action now from these players.
Love that, Dave. Love that, mate. And just quickly,
very concise.
I tried to,
mate. No, it's a brilliant final piece, mate. And what's coming up on the Irish Hotspur? You got any under 21 footage or anything else coming on? Youth team state going on? Actually,
the under 21s are in a cup final Thursday. They're kicking off at 7. We're kicking off at 8. So I'm going to try and manipulate it where I can maybe set up the watch along a bit early to do, at least the first half of the under 21s. Big game for them. They also got Aston Villa in the next round of the league. So top half of the team sort of come through, and then they have to play each other in knockout rounds. So we've got Aston Villa now.
I don't get that, Dave. Do you understand that format? Like, we won the league, and now we got to play a knockout cup.
The thing is, they've got a thing called the Premier League Cup. That's what we're in the semi-final of. Why are they making it into like another cup competition? I think it's absolutely shambolic. I know a lot of people. Yeah, exactly. I don't get it. I know
you get a trophy to win in the league, or do you have to? Is the trophy only when you win the knockout part?
No, you win out the knockouts.
No, you have all these games. You have all.
Tottenham never do well in knockouts, so
no, but we win all these games. We're top of the league, and you think, oh, that's it. No, now it's going to be a knockout. But what's the point of having, as Dave said, what's the point of having a Prem 2 Cup when you just won the league, and then they want to turn it into a cup?
That's disgusting.
I don't know. But look, every department at Tottenham is doing well. The women are in the FA Cup final. The boys have just won the 21s. I'm sure the 17s and 18s are doing well. Over to the board to get Ange what he needs for next season. Dave, sorry, mate. What's coming up on the channel?
Look, because there's such quick turnaround in games this week, and I only got back late last night and stuff like that, I'm just going to get straight back into the match day content, channel creators, predictions, predicted lineup. You get your pre-match pump up, your watch along, and then same again heading into the Liverpool game. Over the summer, I will get back to be doing a lot more live shows, debate shows, and stuff like that. Being brutally honest, when we lose, your boy finds it hard to get onto YouTube and do stuff. I just hate losing. It really irks me. So you're lucky that I turned up for Devil's Advocate today after the North London derby. But that's what's coming up. If you like what I have to contribute, get over and check me out. But make sure you do all the good stuff here, and same for Johnny.
Always good to see Dave. I mean, we talk about the youth, the under 21s, the under 18s, and stuff. You've got that other article coming out that you asked me about. Is that stuff coming out soon? Yeah.
Well, that will be out, I'm hoping, towards the end of the season. It's sort of a documentary style sort of video to the best of my ability, of course. A bit like what Sean done for the Brazilian league and stuff like that, in that sort of style, about the under 21s and the big massive sort of turnover from last year, from being relegated to technically winning the league, but having to go into knockout stages. So I'm going to do a bit of a documentary about that and the changes that have led to that.
Yeah, nice. There's been a lot of changes in the club, and let's just say, there's been a lot of negativity today after the result, but behind the scenes, the changes taking place over the last 18 months, 2 years, have been pretty significant, and we will, I believe, see those changes coming in, especially with this new format that's going to replace PSR, which is going to be, a maximum spend on your squad, where youth development is going to be crucial. We're talking about fight and everything. Just to make a point here, Arsenal played 4 games while we had our 2-week off. Against Wolves, I was looking at the stats. Arsenal ran 6 kilometres further than Wolves, and 6 kilometres further than Chelsea in those 2 games. And yet, with our 2 weeks off, they ran 1.5 kilometres further than us yesterday on Sunday. And I was a bit surprised at that number, considering, you know, our rest period and how many games we played this season and how many games they've played. And the fact that they've had barely any injuries. Is this the fact that they manage their players very well and their medical team are spot on? And is it us, our medical team are not spot on? Or is it the fact that our training is so intense, we're leaving it on the training pitch and it's not transpiring? Because I look at some of the times we're playing and we look knackered. And I'm thinking, we're not playing any games. We're playing 1 game a week. You know, we're just playing other teams who have like had 3 games in a week and we look knackered. Don't understand it. But anyway, look, I don't want Ange to leave. And as Dave said, should he go, then we must keep on with a progressive coach and an attacking coach. We cannot flip-flop between, progressive and pragmatic coaches. We have to keep the Tottenham philosophy going, whatever that may be. I hope we finish positively in the season. I'd like to go into the summer season positively. I'm going to the Ladies' Cup final. It's my first women's game. So hopefully we'll see that winning. I don't know if any of you boys are going.
No.
Disgraceful behaviour, right?
my season ticket has been taken for it by Barry. He sent me a text message going, "Are you going to the FA Cup final?" I said no. And he goes, "Okay." And then about 2 weeks later, he goes, "I've used your CRN. Can you email me the ticket?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I can't change my mind then. Fair enough.
No, I mean, listen. Look, at the end of the day, look, we need some positivity around. I think there is positivity. I'm really looking forward to seeing Bergvall. I know he's coming from Sweden. I know he's a young kid, but for me, he's got absolute bundles of talent, and I really expect him to, even at the age of 18, to make a contribution to our season next year. So let's hope we could go. If you could come and follow me on my Twitter. I don't know what's happened. Elon's been messing around with my account. I had about 3,300 a week ago, and now suddenly I'm below 3,000. I don't know what that's all about. I seem to be losing them every day. And then give me a follow.
Guys, follow Johnny on Twitter right there. Johnny
and also if you've got Instagram, give me a follow on that, because I'm trying to build up my account again, which got removed, which was quite a big account.
You can find his Instagram link on his social, on his Twitter page.
As always, this is the best show of the week, right?
Love it. Thank you so much for coming on, boys. Absolutely sensational. Thank you so much for everyone with the super chats. We're flying in today. A lot of you Australians were very generous, but thank you to all of you, as always, you guys, and the guys who
we're not Ange out. Australia, we are not Ange out.
I'm Ange. Figure it out. I want you to have what you need, and then I want you to just tinker a little bit here and there, and I think we'll be absolutely fine next season.
We're just looking into it, guys. We're just looking into
100%. Love it, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Thursday, we're doing something on the channel. I might do something tomorrow night as well, but keep a lookout for Bugsy's walks as well. If you know what you're doing, then you'll subscribe to Dave and to Johnny as well. You know him. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. And as always, have a good day. Bye-bye.